Austraeoh by Imploding Colon, read by Deathlight. Chapter 9 Eels. With a gasp, Rainbow Dash dove low. The air crackled with the snapping sound of the beast's massive jaws. Then she was mercilessly soaked by water and slime, as the creature plunged straight into the cavernous lake just behind her. Rainbow gnashed her teeth and flew as fast as she could. To her horror, she found herself having to navigate around a giant, red-scaled, serpentine body that was roping in and out of the water all around her, dipping under a looming flank of muscle and shooting up. She clung with 4 hooves to the stalactite. She hung upside down like a bat, panting, her mane soaked. Tilting her head, she aimed her pendant down at the subterranean pool beneath her. The large, hulking body of the eel was just finishing up its epic plunge into the underwater nest. But just as she was trying to get the material estimate of its size, there was another gigantic splash, and 2 completely new heads lunging at her, shrieking. Rainbow Dash kicked off the stalactite, spun, and narrowly dodged the 2 sets of razor-sharp teeth. Just as she dove under the 2 arching bodies, she was flung headfirst into the 3rd eel's maw, then a 4th. She barrel-rolled left and right, assaulted by walls and tossed water and ooze, but barely managed to evade the snapping mouths. Her world had turned into a heated kaleidoscope of dancing crimson light and bestial shrieks. No matter how agile or evasive Rainbow was, these giant monstrosities caught up with her, forcing her to perform increasingly wild and acrobatic maneuvers. She had encountered quarry eels before, but not in this fashion. She had never been foolish enough to have been stuck in the heart of a mountain, in a dank, claustrophobic place with these giant carnivores completely surrounding her. Here she was now, like a small field mouse caught in a pit of snakes, and as the seconds ticked by, she was further amazed she was still alive. Then her ruby eyes caught a cluster of thick stalagmites sticking out of the water several meters ahead in the crimson glow of her pendant. Spinning in midair, she threaded her way through 2 looping flanks of scales, darted through a pair of snapping jaws, and skimmed the slimy lake's surface as she made a beeline for the rock formation. She flapped her wings harder than she had ever done before. She could hear the conjoined hissing of nearly a dozen giant eels speeding towards her from behind. With dexterous grace, she soared straight towards a fork in the rising formation, spun sideways, and effortlessly slipped through them. The monsters behind her were hardly as nimble. 6 of them in a row slammed murderously into the rock, sending chunks of limestone flying across the echoing chamber. They collapsed like giant bags of wet noodles, as several more eels slithered past them and resumed their chase, albeit at an increased distance. Rainbow Dash excelled in relief. She had been successful. Now she had the space she needed to fly forward, unimpeded. A final tunnel that would safely take her out of that place. Using her head and agility, the Pegasus once more had evaded death, and now she was speeding for her life. Then she stopped in the middle of the giant cavern. Rainbow hovered in place, her deadpan expression strewn with sweat and slime. The aura splashing water increased as the remaining quarry eels converged on her. Slowly, Rainbow Dash pivoted around, and her pendant's light along with her. She stared into the faces of the oncoming eels. Her jaw tightened until her gritted teeth shone. Flapping her wings faster, she lowered her goggles and performed a complete about-face, flying directly towards the incoming Felix of monsters. The red eyes glinted from the light of her neckpiece. The forest of razor-sharp teeth glistened with slime and saliva. Powered by hunger and rage, they lunged straight at their prey. Rainbow Dash's eyes flared beneath the goggles. The ceiling shook and the water parted ways as she burned a lightning bolt's path towards them. gritting their menacing scales and serrated teeth with a long, loud, haunting scream. Hello everyone. As I will remind you, there's always a Patreon one-time donations. I'm sorry, I'm just exhausted right now. So, yeah, the story is self-explanatory. She just is escaping the eels, and you'll find out how she manages to do that in the next chapter. So, with that, I'll see you all later.